you're absolutely welcome to do that. And I promise you, no question is stupid. You're not bothering us. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you've got a need or a question.
My cell phone number is also on my email tagline, so feel free to text and reach out if you need anything.
All right, well, welcome. I think Karen is going to pull the slide deck up now. We are delighted to be here. And so we're going to start with some introductions. First, we are really proud of our clever tagline, be the CEO of your own learning. So you're here today to hear about UK's brand new next generation CEO model for rank change in partnership with Jefferson County Schools and Shelby County Schools. And as you'll see from the title slide here, it's a personalized professional learning pathway. We are excited that the Kentucky Education Professional Standards Board has opened up the market to allow us to work with teachers in a much more personalized way. And you'll hear that this is very much in keeping with the work happening in Jefferson County. On this next slide, we wanted to give you a visual of our team. We are the UK Center for Next Generation Leadership under the auspices of the College of Education. I'm Lou Young. I'm the center's executive director, retired superintendent, 31 and a half years in P-12 education here in Kentucky, and been at UK now in 7 years, where I teach in the Department of Ed Leadership Studies and run the center, which is an outreach program for the university and the college. We do a lot of professional development and training around Kentucky. Some of you may have been in our UK Jefferson County Next Gen Leadership Academy. We ran that for 4 years, and we do other professional development in the district. So we are delighted by the partnership that we're about to share. Also with me today are Karen, Laura, and Justin. Neoma Higgins-Flores is not with us today. She's our associate director. She will be part of the CEO program, including especially an emphasis on orientation and induction. And our admin assistant is Jenny Hawley down on the bottom right. But let me turn it over to Karen for introductions, and then we'll toss it to Laura and Justin.
So good afternoon. So happy to be here with you today. We're really excited that you're interested in this new adventure with us. I want to make sure that I really draw attention to Laura Shields, who's going to be the coordinator of the CEO effort. All the people that you see on the slide here are part of the team, but Laura Shields is going to be the coordinator of the effort, and you'll certainly be hearing more from Laura as we move forward here. So thank you so much for your time, and you know, just want you to know a little bit about us before we move into the content here. So I want to give a really high level overview, and then we're going to get more down into this specifics here. But essentially, CEO is really a combination. It's called continuing education opportunity. It's really a combination of high quality professional learning and then job embedded competency based experiences that are co-designed by participants in the program. The sort of design features of how we have built this opportunity is that we really want this to be competency based, so that you experience what it is to be a participant in a competency based system, so you can turn around and design competency based learning experiences for students. We really are relying on the job mentoring and coaching. We really want projects to be embedded in daily classroom practice. We want work that gets produced by participants to be peer reviewed. We are going to present Research Quality University. We're the University of Kentucky, and research is an important part of our identity. We expect that participants will complete this learning opportunity in 1 year. And at the end of 1 year, after all of those things, we'll have achieved a rank change. So that's just a super high level in terms of the design of this learning experience. And then we're going to get a little bit more specific about that with you. Just to be really clear, here's what we're asking for from the participants. If you look on the right-hand side, we're asking for participants to have, to really engage with fidelity in 1 year of deep professional development. So to really in earnest engage with the learning experiences that are provided here, and that participants apply the content from the program. Here are the advantages of this program to participants. You're gonna move through as a cohort. The content of this experience is about student-centered learning. Lots of the things that JCPS already has happening underway in the district. This content will be competency-based, both in theory and in practice, and will be job embedded, as we've talked about. And then, of course, access to UK research and professors. So tons of advantages for participants. Really, the request is engage in this learning experience in earnest. You're going to get out of it what you put into it in many, many ways, as with most professional learning experiences. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back over to Lou to talk about really what rank change through continuing education option is, and the standards, and then we'll move on to the learning experience.
So this regulation actually changed a year ago. So our program is brand new. It's one of only 3 in Kentucky. The Green River Regional Co-op is running a program. The Kentucky Educational Development Co-op is running a program. And UK is the first higher ed university that's running this professional development rank change program. So the reg is 16 KAR 8:030, and it provides for this continuing education option. So for those of you who hold rank 3, you can earn rank 2 through this model. For those of you who already hold rank 2, you can earn rank 1 through this model. So you will be our inaugural cohort. We will be selecting 30 participants from Jefferson County. We'll say more about that at the end of the slide deck after you know a little bit more about what the program will entail. But you will see, if you were to read the reg, you would actually see that it does provide for the rank change through this high quality professional learning experience. So we were approved in October and will be launching this summer in June with this first cohort, which does include, as I mentioned earlier, a small cohort within the cohort from Shelby County. So we will have 13 Shelby County participants and 30 Jefferson County participants in this first year. I do want to note that you can only earn 1 rank change under CEO in Kentucky. So while we would love to have you for rank 3 to 2 and 2 to 1, you can only earn 1 rank change. Later in the program, we will be sharing with you how you can move on if you choose to earn a master's degree in education at the University of Kentucky to provide for a continuing learning option for you. But for right now, we are looking at rank change.
Okay, great. So I see a couple questions popping over in the chat. That's fine. Keep throwing questions over there, everyone. We'll do our best to try to keep up with those as we sort of lay out what we are up to here. Okay, so overlapping standards, Karen, you want me to share on this one too?
Sure, go ahead. All
right, fine. So what we have going on here, team, is some standards that exist at EPSB around teacher leader standards and Kentucky teacher performance standards. We overlap those with sort of national standards, national ideas around educator and leader competencies for more personalized, deeper learning, student-centered learning. And so we're working in both of those standard sets to sort of build what we're about to show you, which will be the experience in the competency model over the course of the next year. So jump ahead. So I'm going to pretty quickly share some details of the program to give you a sense of it, and we can unpack it and answer questions in the chat and maybe answer some Q&A questions. So, but to give you a sense of it, being competency-based, just like you all in Jefferson have been moving towards the backpack and sort of backpack defenses, there's sort of a backpack defense at the end of this entire competency journey, where you're going to present sort of the core learning from the deeper learning modules, some of the artifacts that you worked on that are competency-based, as well as the action research component that is required by EPSB to be a part of this particular module. So both of those things go to like a peer and program reviewed learning defense that happens near the end of the program to sort of serve as sort of the capstone evaluation. let's keep rolling, Karen. So then where we're at as Next Gen is we have these 10 core modules. We pulled them from the Next Gen 9. The Next Gen 9, these are the big anchors of our center, the roots of the work that we've done for the last decade. We mix together deeper learning competencies with equity of opportunity focus in schools. And we put all those together in the Next Gen 9. Those things serve as the foundation. None of that is going to be new to you in Jefferson. Jefferson's been working on a lot of this stuff. When you go to the Deeper Learning Conference in the summertime and you get to see all those sessions, right? This is that same work that you all have been focused on. It's been important to us at UK for the last decade as well. UK and JCPS have been overlapping and running alongside of each other for the last several years, 5 or 6 years now, actually, along this work. So that's where the root of this is. Then, Karen, we take those Next Gen 9, move to the 10 sort of core modules that live inside of this one-year competency experience. And so I'll sort of break those down, but you can see the light blue live as action research modules that we sort of break out into parts, and you move throughout the entire year. And at the same time, you are moving a little bit at your own pace through the 6 darker blue competencies around student-centered learning, learner agency, inquiry-based learning, mastery-based, competency-based learning, assessment for learning, and equity of opportunity. So to give you a little bit of insight into those 6, because that's the real meat of what we're offering, just quickly give you a sense of what some of those look like. So let's sort of buzz through those. Oh, before we do, real fast, all of this lives inside of Canvas, which is our learning management system. So you all will have passwords and log into Canvas. That's where we've archived all of this work, where our content builders are currently building all of their content. We have a lot of experience with this, and it goes back years now for us. And so that's sort of the platform on which all of this sort of heavily asynchronous, but with some synchronous learning built in, where all that is going to be managed. All right, so then into those 6 dark blue competencies that we sort of want you to get good at. The first one is around student-centered learning. And so we're going to sort of push you forward in a big holistic way about these big ideas. So this is like the big idea 1, where we sort of introduce you to all of the things, the direction that we're sort of going to in the post No Child Left Behind, sort of increasingly post standardized testing world. How do we move forward into that world? What does learning look like? That's sort of the root of this one, really sort of building that around student-centered learning. And you can see where we both articulate what the competencies are, as well as like, how are you going to show us mastery of that, right? So we want to, in the learner agency module, we want you to show us that your learners in your classrooms are starting to gain more agency, right? So in this model, work from your actual jobs in your real classrooms is going to serve as the primary artifacts of how you show us that you're mastering this content. And so the second big idea here is around learner agency and really empowering students to take much more control of their own learning. All right, next one is around inquiry learning, not a surprise, right? That's a big push for Jefferson recently. And so this is PBL. This is sort of that pedagogical constructivist, like how do we get kids that are actively starting to ask better questions and then let those questions drive a lot more of their learning. So that inquiry module is being coordinated by Diana Laufenberg, who's a national expert on this and helping us to build out content on that. But ultimately, like what we'd like for you to show us is an inquiry project that you're leading in your own classroom during that year. And so that is sort of how you will show us mastery of that particular module. The next one is sort of mastery and competency-based learning. So this gets to a lot of the systemic stuff that lives around this work, like rubrics and the different sort of checkpoints that you're sending through students through, ideas that live inside of mastery, like standards-based grading, stuff like that all sort of gets packaged up into this space. And so you showing us like how you would assess students through a competency-based model is sort of how we want to see you demonstrate mastery here. The next one is around performance assessment. So this is stuff that if you're doing JCPS backpack defenses, hey, pretty big check mark already in place here, team, because that type of performance assessment is the kind of stuff that we want you to demonstrate to us as evidence of mastery on these different criteria. So those backpack defenses are one way that performance assessment happens. Exhibitions of learning is another way. Student-led conferencing is another way. So we'll introduce all of those in the performance assessment modules. But again, as long as you're doing those JCPS backpack defenses, you're already going to have that anchor in place to help demonstrate mastery in our modules. And then the last one is around equity of opportunity. These are our 6 sort of anchors in our program. And so equity of opportunity for us sort of serves as a real driver that links together all the other things. So if all those other things are happening, we think you're going to be moving towards equity of opportunity. But there are also intentional steps that we can take, like cultural relevance in our curriculum and pedagogy, that help to accelerate that. So in this module, we sort of push those ideas forward as well. And we have some ideas about how you'll help demonstrate mastery. Here, there's things like equity audits or sort of student advisory and mentoring models that you might be engaging in that you can help sort of demonstrate mastery. So sort of see how this is going to work. Like, we've got big ideas and there's asynchronous content that you're going to be working through. You're going to have, as we get to our personnel slide, is that one? What's up next, Karen? Sorry. So as we move towards our personnel, we've got a mixture of personnel happening here to help get you the support you need to get all this done. So here is sort of the people that we're employing or partnering with directly. So the CEO lead team, that's who you're meeting today, is all of us that we're working at sort of the university level to coordinate, make it all happen. Then we're employing a bunch of content module developers who are working directly with us to get the best ideas on this in place. So pop back up one slide, go back to those content module developers for a second. So this represents some of the folks that we've employed to help do that job. Like Diana Laufenberg is leading our inquiry module. Chris Sturgis is sort of one of the national experts on competency-based learning. So we're having her help lead that. Kai Matthews is helping to lead our equity module development. And then some of these other voices we'll be bringing in throughout the year, just as sort of additional voices to put into the space to let you connect with and learn from. Like Jose Jimenez is an elementary school principal in New York City, who's doing an amazing job with elementary student voice. So to learn from these different folks is sort of who we want to help bring sprinkling throughout the year. All right, back to our content personnel then. So those folks are helping to bring the big ideas, but you're then going to be working sort of on an ongoing basis with a crew chief who's leading small teams through the work, right? So we are going to help bring crew chiefs to the table for you all, partner you up in small teams of 5 to 8, where you have sort of a crew chief who is meeting with you, helping to make sure you're mastering the competencies, giving you feedback. So like when you lead an inquiry-based module and you're like, is this good enough? Or if I adjust this, is that going to work? Right? Those are the kinds of questions that are going to go to your crew chief, and they're going to sort of serve as your primary guide throughout this program. Our district lead partners, some of those are in the room right now with Maddie and Joe and Alan. Those folks are working on the district level side to help support you as well. There are specific things around, we want their voices both in selection as well as in the final defenses. And then the work that you do in this program is actually in the regulation that you are sort of required to share this learning back out into the district. And so our district level partners will sort of help to coordinate some of that sharing back into the district. Things like the Deeper Learning Conference in the summer, perfect opportunity to do some of that sharing back out into the district. And then we expect you guys to learn from each other. So sort of peer review is going to be part of the process. As you guys are submitting artifacts, those are going to be subject to peer review, as well as sort of, all of us as at the lead team and the district partners and the crew chief review. All right, that was a super fast, maybe I'll do this one too, action research. You want me to do this one? I forget which number we're on, Karen.
You're good. Well,
Lou, you want to take that one, Lou? Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
I've been talking too long, but hopefully that's a
also,
super fast insight into sort of how it's going to work.
I've also been responding to direct questions and then general questions over at the right. One that we had not anticipated, I think, is causing some heartburn, and I apologize for that. But just to clarify and not waste your time if this applies to you, but if you already hold rank 1, the only thing for you is a terminal degree, a PhD or an EDD, to change your rank and status in Jefferson County. And this is not such a program. So if you do hold rank 1, CEO would not be a benefit to you. The other one is, what if I'm in the middle of working on my master's? And so the same thing is true. You can only get one rank change at a time. And so unless you finish your rank change this summer, I did have a direct question about a July completer. If you finish your rank change in July, then your rank 2 begins with the fall of 2021. And then you would go through our program for a year, and your rank 1 would apply for the fall of 2022. What can't happen is that you can't earn ranks 2 and 1 at the same time at the beginning of a school year. So my apologies. We actually hadn't had that question before, but we do have to slow the roll a little bit on that. So you have to earn your rank 2 and then come to CEO, or come to CEO and then later earn your rank 1. So my apologies. If you want to stay after or keep sending direct messages on that, I'm happy to respond in that regard. I love seeing all the questions about teaming. I think Maddie and Joe and Alan have done a good job pushing out the notion that doing these in school level teams, so many crews or cohorts within the cohort, is so smart. And I think you'll find the collegiality of that to be really helpful through the process. We did want to devote one slide to action research. It is required.
Lou, before
Yes.
you move on to action research, while you were talking, there was another
Yes.
question in the chat from
Oh,
someone
thanks.
that said, if I already have my rank 1 but want to do this anyway, is it okay for me to apply?
So Joe, that would really be a question for the district side, in that we are going to have it's going to be selective. So we will only be able to take up to 30 from Jefferson County. So, so that would be a consideration on the district side. We would love to have you. We think it's going to be a high quality professional learning model, and good for anybody. So I love the question, but Joe, I don't know if that's something you would have to check on, or if you guys want to go ahead and take a stab at answering that. I think receiving the application and seeing where we go from there would be reasonable.
I think that, again, we would go through the process, and Maddie, correct me if you're wrong, if you think I'm wrong, but I believe our goal here is to help people grow professionally. If you get a rank change out of it, that's a bonus. But if you want to go through this professional learning, even without a rank change, then fill out the application. That's what I think.
Oh, Joe, that's a great answer. That's a warm the cockles of my heart kind of answer. So yes, love it. And thank you guys. Ask yourself now, did that level of ambiguity cause you stress? Because this is a first year program run by Next Gen. Maddie and team showed us how to do it based on what they've done in the past, but you are going to run into, we don't know yet, let's check, or we're co-creating this with you as partners. So know that you are doing some pioneering here. And hopefully that ambiguity is really just exciting, and you're not worried about taking the risk, and you will definitely move forward with the application. But let me talk to you a little bit about action research. When people hear that, I think they think it's a $5 or $20 word, and we don't want that to be the message that comes across here. While it is required under the Kentucky regulation that all participants would engage in the action research process, we want to do it in such a way that it is, in fact, in keeping with this whole program. Competency-based, a lot of engagement on the part of teams and support along the way. So action research for me is just a professional cycle of inquiry. You have a question, you're wondering about it. It has to do with competency-based education or something around student-centered learning, student agency, restorative justice and practices, whatever the question is, then you begin to flesh out that question following a fairly prescribed set of steps. SAGOR is the model that we use. If you've been in that in your master's program more recently, you may know that work. And then we're going to go through that cycle of inquiry with you to try some things. We're going to design an intervention, see what that looks like, gather the data, analyze the data, and move forward. Action research, when it is done well, is just a smart way for teachers to interact professionally with their own students in their environment. And it is completely manageable. Don't think old school randomized controlled trials. That's not the kind of action research we're talking about. We want this to be practical, feasible, and to make a difference with your own students. So we will keep it real. We will keep it genuine in the process. That's our commitment to you. Not doing it is not an option because of the regulation, but doing it well and making it authentic is our goal. And we will ensure that that happens over the course of this coming year.
Yeah, I'd add, Lou, and that's really good points to make on action research. I'd add, just reemphasizing, this will be a question of your own curiosity. It really needs to be in the lane of student-centered learning. I mean, we don't want it to be so far afield, but this would be a question of your curiosity, and it needs to be directly applicable to your work now. Please do not think old school dissertation, 100-page paper at the end of the line here. This needs to be actionable and practical in your classroom right now, a question of your own curiosity. And we'd really like your learning to be public so that other people benefit from your hard action research. So that's part of the two-part defense that Justin talked about at the beginning of this. So just keeping that end in mind as we begin here down both rails, the action research rail and the module rail. So it's just a super really valuable process to get you reflecting on your own practice as a teacher or leader. All right, so Joe and Maddie and Alan sent some questions across that they had already received from you all. And so this was one of the questions that comes up and I think is a really good one. What's my time commitment in terms of being a participant? So essentially, we would, first of all, like to sort of remind that this is competency based. So if you already know how to do the thing that is being asked, it is optional to participate in the readings, for example, right? We are curating lots of asynchronous content, and we want people to engage with that. That is designed to help people both deepen their own professional understanding and complete the required artifacts and evidence and through the process. But when it's competency based, you can take less time if you need less time, or you can take more time if you need more time. So just keeping in mind that we're really thinking in terms of a flexible amount of time here. That's really an essential part of what a competency based experience is. Okay, having said that, we anticipate that it would be pretty typical for someone to spend 2 to 3 hours on one of those 6 or content modules, asynchronous content modules, or 4 action research, right? So if you kind of think about pacing this out, approximately 1 module a month, give or take, again, competency based, but let's just say we're talking about 1 content module a month. 2 to 3 hours on the asynchronous portion of the program. We will have a topical synchronous conversation for 60 to 90 minutes. So again, thinking about that happening in a month as well. 1 hour you can expect with your crew and your crew chief. Additionally, possibly some time with a district coach as needed and as requested. Related to that, we also expect implementation of this to happen in your classroom. So for example, if we're talking about the learner agency module and your evidence is going to be, let's say, artifacts and evidence that you're going through the goal setting process with students, which is a highly agentic practice to happen in a classroom. Well, you can count the time that you're spending in your classroom as being devoted to learning about learner agency because you're learning through that experience in your own classroom with your own students. So that will be some time devoted to this effort as well. And then, of course, action research will be some time as well, right? All told, we expect participants to be able to complete the 10 modules, so 6 content modules and the 4 action research modules in 1 year. So we expect to kick off in the end of June, and we expect participants to be finished really probably by next May. So we are pacing out in our design for that kind of a timeline. Again, competency-based, flexible, but we anticipate that people will be able to complete this in 1 year. So I think, Lou, this is to you.
Yes, so a couple more questions coming through before I turn it over to Maddie, Joe to explain the application process a little bit further, although you can see these dates. I did have a follow-up question about the rank change. Even if you finish your master's mid-year, rank changes have to be applied in Kentucky by September. So even though you're close, you would want to defer to the next year for your application. But that's an important point that I wanted to make. We are really optimistic that we're going to have this partnership with Jefferson County Schools for well into the future. This is work that they have ongoing, part of the board's strategic agenda. And Maddie and team can share more about that. But if this is the year that you're already in a rank 2 program, a master's program, then just wait 1 more year and apply, because we do expect next May to be out here doing an information session again, encouraging folks to apply. So just they have to stack up in order under Kentucky regulation. And the other thing I wanted to mention, just a really clear reminder to capture in the recording, we've had questions about certification. This is not a certification program, and it is not a degree program. So this is a professional development program for rank change, high quality professional learning that results in a rank change. You won't have any different certification, no endorsement, and you will not be earning a master's degree or another degree. So really just keep that in mind. That's what the new reg allows for. And that's why this seems so strange. You haven't heard about it before, because we have 3 brand new programs working in Kentucky right now. So keep posting those questions, but I do want to turn it over to Maddie to talk about that selection process. We've had several of those questions over in the chat, and I know that the Deeper Learning team is working through those issues right now. So Maddie, to you.
Sure. And Joe or Alan, feel free to interrupt at any time. I've been writing down some of the questions that you guys have put in the chat, so I'm going to try and answer.
I know, because I had a mask on all day.
If I missed something or you need more clarification, feel free to ask more questions in the chat. So the first thing I want to call everyone's attention to is what's here on the screen in terms of timelines. So we will be releasing the applications to everyone that has shown interest, either with the general interest sessions that happened already, or the specific program specific sessions happening right now, this Wednesday and next week with Spalding. Because the UK program begins sooner and is on a tighter timeline, applications for UK are due on May 21st. We will notify participants on whether or not they've made it into the UK program by May 24th. The reason that we're doing this is because Spalding has a little bit larger capacity. And if this is learning that you really want to pursue this year, although I think nothing's written in stone or signed in blood yet, but I anticipate us being able to continue this partnership and offer these opportunities in the future. Our timeline with Spalding is such that if you don't get into the UK program, you can still apply for Spalding. That can be your plan B. And we have a good problem in that we have more interest than we have the capacity to support right now. But as Lou said, this program is totally brand new. Like it just became legal last year. And so this program and the 2 others like it are the first time in the state of Kentucky that this process has existed and is able to result in a rank change. And so for that reason, this kind of pilot year is being handled with a little bit more care than we might in future years when we've been through this and done this before. So the good news is that if you aren't one of the 30 for UK, you've got next year, you can continue to apply. And you can also apply to pursue this through the Spalding route as well. The process is very similar. The content is very similar. It's just the unit of credit is a little bit different. So we've gotten some questions around the application criteria. Based on what we experienced and what we learned from our first cohort experience, we have prioritized diversity and impact. And when we say diversity, we mean diversity in every sense of the word. We want our cohort to be made up of all facets of JCPS. We mean diversity in level, elementary, middle, high school. We mean diversity in your content, ECE, ELL, math, science, CTE, related arts, some other, content or what have you. Racial diversity, diversity in years of career, diversity in district level or school level. And the reason is, in addition to sharing your learning at the Deeper Learning Symposium or other professional learning opportunities, we really want this vanguard of highly trained folks to be able to lead some of the changes in our district. That might mean serving on decision-making committees, helping us draft new policy language. And we need people who can see all parts of the elephant to be able to help us do those things together. So we're prioritizing diversity, like I said, in all senses and forms of the word. We're also prioritizing impact and scale and spread. So we want to continue to scale the work that's happening at our existing schools, but we also want to spread it all over the district. So we want our current schools to expand their teams, and we want new schools to jump in as well. So that's a little bit about the criteria. We've worked on the rubric with Dr. Coleman and with Michelle Dillard. So those priorities are at the top of the list in terms of assessing the applications.
So Maddie, you may have already mentioned this. I'm sorry. We have a new puppy. You guys, I had to run because he was crying. I thought he was injured, but I'm back. So you may have already mentioned this, but there have been a lot of questions around, we wanted to apply as a team. We have a huge team. We've got some schools with very large numbers that could fill up half or more, some of them, of the 30 for UK. And so we want you to know that part of that application process does ask, if you're applying as a team, who are the other people on your team, and make sure you're all aligned and want to be together on that. With that being said, some of the conversation with Dr. Coleman has been around, if there's 18 or 20 people from one school that want to do this work, it might be that some of them go in a different path, and you all still are a team at your school, but even if you're approaching this in different pathways. So just know that we're going to take all of that into consideration and making the best decision for you and your team and your school, and making sure everyone, as many people as we can, have the opportunities to continue their learning. So that is going to play into it. Another question that has come up is around certification. While this isn't a program that gets you a certification, another teaching certification, another endorsement, a gifted and talented, whatever, it doesn't get you any of that. Within JCPS, we are viewing this as a certificate in CBE, that you have something nobody else does right now. This doesn't exist anywhere. And that is going to be valued within JCPS. So just know that that's how we're seeing it within the district. So wanted to make sure I answered that clearly.
Speaking of just value, two things I want to add just for awareness purposes. And I lost one of them. Maybe it'll come back while I'm talking. Part of the application process is a commitment form that we have. If you've pursued a gifted and talented endorsement, it's all very similar to that agreement. And it basically says, because JCPS is ponying up $6,000 per participant, which is the full cost for this experience, we expect that you stay in the district and you complete the program. So pretty reasonable reciprocity there. But I just want to put that on the table for awareness purposes, that we will be asking all of our participants to just sign that form agreeing to complete the program, barring any kind of, act of God or some kind of crazy extenuating circumstance that we can address on a personal basis. But that you finish the program and that you stay within JCPS so that we get a return on our investment.
Excellent. So I think that's really helpful. And as I scan the questions, I think we've touched on all of those as it relates to the UK CEO, but we still have a little bit of time. So I don't know if it's more efficient to go ahead and continue to type your questions in, but we would be happy to have you unmute if you have a pressing question right now. And note that Joe just added that they will be sending the application out to everyone.
Yeah, and in terms of what it looks like, it will be a Google form. And then, yes, we'll be sending it out to everyone who is signed up for these meetings, signed up for the general interest meetings. No one is barred from applying. So if there's someone you want to share it with that, you know, for whatever reason wasn't on the distribution list, like we want it to be available to everyone. So we'll be sending it directly to you if you're in this meeting. And then it'll be a Google form. How many people accepted into the cohort? 30 for the UK cohort and 150 for the Spalding cohort.
I would just also add, when we're talking about who can apply, someone asked about special ed teachers, ECE. Absolutely. We've also had some questions around EL, English language learners. If you're an ESL teacher, yes, absolutely. We want everyone to see themselves in this work. And in fact, we had some ECE and ESL folks in the cohort that went through last year with Southern New Hampshire University and Two Revolutions. And they said that it matched perfectly with the work that they were doing with their ECE and ESL students. And the same is true for all of our special areas and CTE. So wherever you are, this will work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I think a lot of people are trying to decide between the two programs, the Spalding and the UK program. And the way I understand it is the Spalding one is as actual credit hours. This one is just the professional development. But the main question is whether or not Spalding offers a rank change. So does Spalding offer the rank change with just the first part? I know that there's two parts, the first 15 that you all are paying for, and then the second 15 that would be on us. Does Spalding offer a rank change for just doing that first 15 hours that's comparable to this program?
For the certificate alone, the 15 hours by itself, the answer is no.
Okay, so how is that the 15-hour certificate different than this program?
So
content-wise?
I'm sorry, can you finish the question?
Content-wise, what is the difference between the Spalding 15-hour program and the certificate?
Content-wise, they're extremely similar. The process is competency-based in itself for both programs, and both programs have modules with similar learner outcomes. I can't say definitively that they're exactly the same, but they are similar enough. And I will say also that some of the partners that Spalding is working with to craft the courses work with the partners that UK is using to help craft the courses. For example, Chris Sturgis, who is working with UK, and Rose Colby, who is working with Spalding, often work and author things together. One of them is working with Spalding and one of them is working with UK. So extremely similar content between the programs.
So just to clarify too, like you can't really compare what's happening at Spalding with what's happening with UK. UK is continuing education credits, professional learning. Spalding is graduate credits. The rules around what can count for a rank change with graduate credit and what can count for a rank change with continuing ed credits are not the same. So you have to ask yourself, do you need the graduate credits and that degree option, or do you need the continuing education with UK? And we have people on both sides of that, and no one can make that decision for you except you, because no one knows your circumstances. But if you have special circumstances that you want to talk to someone about, I would reach out to someone at UK or someone at Spalding and ask your direct questions about your situation, because they're all unique.
Joe, that's really well stated. You're exactly right. It depends on, as you make decisions, if you want to go the degree route or if you want to go the rank change route. But fortunately, neither one is a dead end. You could do a master's at Spalding and then do a rank change with us to get rank 1 and the higher pay grade. You could do rank 2 with us and then come back and talk to us about a master's to get to rank 1. Neither one is a dead end. So I thought the way you responded to that question, Joe, was very helpful. And that might make it, if you guys are choosing between UK and Spalding, that might clarify.
And I just want to call attention to the chat really quick. Karen Perry, one of our partners at UK, put her email in the chat. If you guys would like to take up the offer with our partners at UK to have a more personalized discussion around your context specifically and your career goals, Karen's email is there in the chat. And we're happy to connect you with UK as well. So you're welcome to email us and we can always make that connection as well.
Absolutely.
Kimberly, to answer your question, we do have a rubric for the application. We have not discussed the plan for sharing that.
We're doing really well on time. Feel free
Yeah,
to,
what else?
if you have some more questions, or we'll keep monitoring the chat.
You all have been asking great questions over in the chat in the room.
Shamelessly, we would love to have you. We are so excited about this program. We can't wait to have our inaugural year. From Mallory, can you complete even though you have children? I'm concerned about childcare. So that is, you're going to have to think about your scope of your time and your commitments as you move forward. When we do synchronous in-person sessions, they are very limited. They will be in Louisville, but most of the work happens in virtual settings and mostly asynchronously or based on your own schedule. You schedule it with your coach, etc. So I would say compared to what my own master's students experience, that you will have high levels of flexibility. We talked about the question, is there something that someone could miss and endanger earning the rank change? And our answer is no, because this is a competency-based model. Now, I don't say that in hopes that you will ditch sessions or that you won't make every effort to attend, but ultimately you will be the CEO of your own learning. You're going to have agency to make these decisions as you move forward. It would be really hard to demonstrate competency at the end of this first year if you don't put in the synchronous and asynchronous time that will be offered as part of the program. But we trust you as adult professionals to make those decisions.
Real quick. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Brown.
Well, just to clarify Lou's comment, there's synchronous that will be mostly online on Zoom. As we bring in those national voices into the conversation and give you opportunities to interact with those folks, that's going to be primarily on Zoom because they're not flying into Louisville to do that job. However, since we're in Kentucky and you're in Kentucky, right, it makes sense for us to like hang out from time to time, assuming we are all pandemic ready for that. And so, you know, JCPS has some good facilities that NextGen has experience using over the years. And so when there's moments when we can sort of pull this group together and get some personal time, we want to take advantage of that as well. It won't be huge. It won't be a huge part of the program. We've got years of experience working with working professionals in the evenings and stuff. And so we know how to make it work for working moms. But we want it to be personal and for you to feel connected and that you are feeling like this is something that really advances your career in a deep way. And so we're going to try to throw multiple formats at it to let you have that experience. All right, sorry, Maddie, jump over back to you.
Not at all. We had a question and answer in the chat. I want to make sure everyone hears. The question was, when will this program kick off? And Laura Shields put that answer in the chat. June 21st is the orientation / kickoff, June 21st. And then it was also asked if we could make the slide deck from today, as well as this video recording, available to everyone And I see Lou nodding on the slide deck, and yes, we can share this recording. So we will share the recording from today as well as the slide deck with everyone. So you've got that. And then again, June 21st is the kickoff for the UK program.
There was another question in the chat about opportunities within the district if you complete the UK program, and absolutely yes. It is our goal to use you guys as a vanguard for change within the district. We're going to put your name out there for members of district level committees like SPP and G. Why are we grading this way? Let's change and do something different, right? And as well as a lot of other things that happen at the district level. So absolutely, that is a goal that we have, is to use you to help us move this forward. And then I thought I saw another question particular to JCPS, but now I'm not seeing it. So
members,
I think it was about, can they count it for PD credit, Joe?
Yep. So I do not know right offhand the answer to that question, so I'm not going to answer it right now.
But we can find the answer to that and make that answer available to everyone when we send the video and the slide deck. Can this count as 21-22 PD credit? Got it. And then just to add, absolutely, we plan to position our cohort members in places to help influence our pathway forward in our district. Members from our first cohort are serving on decision-making committees and are drafting parts of the strategy, and are already kind of giving back and helping us lead the work. So yes, there'll be lots of ways for you to use your learning. We have a few minutes left if there's any last lingering questions. And then if you think of any questions later on, you're more than welcome to email those to us as well. And we'll answer them the best that we can. And if we don't know the answers, we'll find someone who does.
I would say we totally appreciate you all spending time at this time of the day with us talking about future programs. And that's very impressive, team.
All right, well, I think we're at a point where it's okay for us to kind of close up. Again, this Zoom meeting might be over, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. If you've got questions that are still lingering or that pop up later, you're more than welcome to reach out to Joe, Alan, or myself. And then if we can answer the question, great, good for us. If not, we'll connect you with someone who can. And then again, if you want to have a one-on-one type conversation with our program partners at UK to talk about your context or your career goals specifically, we can facilitate that as well. Karen Perry did put her email in the chat, so that's there for you. And then again, we can make those connections if need be. And then we will be sending out the application, the slide deck from today, our recording from today, and the answer to the question about applicability to next year's PD credit requirement to everyone this week, likely Wednesday after our second UK info session has taken place. All right, thank you guys so much for attending. Hope to see you apply, and we'll go from there.
A great rest of your Monday, everyone.
We'll see you again Wednesday, Maddie. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think we're going to have a lot of people that want to be part of your program. It's super exciting.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, Joe. So
we can also